Had a couple questions on this particular problem or type of problem in the homework. So what we have here is, okay, it says test the following claim. Pi 1 is less than pi 2, all right, at a significance level or an alpha is equal to 0.002. All right, so what we're going to do is we have our null hypothesis, pi 1 is equal to pi 2. When we put it in the applet, we want to write it as the difference of those two proportions. Another way to write this is that the difference between pi 1 and pi 2, or pi 1 minus pi 2, is equal to 0. And we can rewrite the alternative as pi 1 minus pi 2 is less than 0. All right, so it says you obtain 54.8 successes out of a sample size of 622. 58.4, so we know our sample size is 622. What is this 54.8%? Well, that's our p hat. P hat is our proportion or our percent of success. All right, we can write it as a decimal, 0.548, or in this case, it was written as a percentage, 54.8. So they gave us the p hat. They gave us the p hat. That's really all we need. But how would I figure out what my number of success is, or the count? We'd say 54.8% success, so 54.8 of my total sample size, 622, would give me approximately 341 successes. That would be my count. But because they gave us the 54.8 or the 0.548, that's already my p hat. In the second sample, we have 58.6 successes, okay? 58.6% of the 430. My sample size for sample 2 is 430. That's my p hat. My p hat is my proportion or my percent of success, 58.6%, 0.586. All right, it wants to know what is the z-score and the p-value. Well, let me go to my Rossmann chance. If I pull that up here, my Rossmann chance, we have two proportions here. Group 1, I'm going to put my N1 is 622. I'm not going to put count in. I'm going to put my p hat in, 0.548. That's going to calculate my count. You see here, 341. Okay, that's what I got here. 54.8% times 622 is about equal to 341. For my group 2, I put my N is 430. I'm going to put my p hat in. My p hat is 58.6%, 0.586. It's going to calculate my count, 252. I'm going to calculate. I'm doing a test of significance. I want to make sure that this sign here matches my null, which it does, less than 0. Here's my null hypothesis, pi 1 minus pi 2 equals 0, pi 1 minus pi 2 less than 0. That's my alternative. It's going to do all the work for me. My z-score is negative 122, and my p-value is 0.112. Let me just pull that in. Okay. All right. I'm going to close that out. And I'm going to pull this down. Okay. All right. So my z-score is just, don't drop the negative here. It's 1.22 standard deviations below the mean, minus 1.22. My p-value is 0.1122. All right, my p-value is greater than my alpha. My alpha is 0.002. 0.1122 is greater than 0.002. So it's greater than alpha. Because it's greater than alpha, we can say that the null is plausible. It's not true, all right? It's plausible, it's believable. And as such, my final conclusion is, when we don't say conclude, that sort of implies we're saying it's true. It is plausible that the first population proportion is equal to the second. The first population proportion, pi 1, is equal to pi 2. That's it.